greatest sports debate show on the internet.
I will take my victory lap now because who was the one that was saying the Buffalo Bills window is closed? Oh yeah, that's right. It was me.
Championship rings. Starring Brandon Lewis.
Wait a minute, who's the one that didn't see Brandon Cooks clearly has the ball in his hand, goes down to the ground with one knee on the ground, and then magically they say, it's an interception!
Honestly, I'd rather watch AHL All-Star stuff than the NBA All-Star game.
And that is not Josh Ungar on the other line tonight. Josh is once again unable to make it tonight. He is back from overseas, but he had a prior commitment tonight. So filling in for him, we have the one, the only, the host of the Fitz on Sports podcast, my Voltage Live colleague, Sean Fitzgerald. What's going on, Fitz?
Not much. I got home from work a little bit ago. You know, it's a funny thing, Brandon. I don't know if you remember this. Back in 2019, our good friend Quentin Griffin and our other good friend Dylan Bowers, the primary host of Victory Formation, those two were going to be out, and only Dante Centofanti was going to be on. So it was actually on April 1st. So they asked me, "Hey, can you fill in?" It's like this would be like it was a cool thing. So I actually, did everything that they would normally do, and I filled in as the host and board op and I worked with Dante. That was, what was that, 7 years ago? Unfortunately, it's not April 1st; it's April 2nd.
I don't remember that, but that would have been a great April Fool's joke to play on me if you would have told me it was my show, because I would never remember it at all. But anyway, it's been a while. I'm trying to think. You have not been on this show since probably the end of last baseball season, like October.
Somewhere around there. I think so. I can't remember the exact time, but probably roughly around that time.
So we got a lot to dive into tonight. There's a lot going on in the sports world right now. We have NFL spring meetings going on. We got ABS in Major League Baseball. We got the NBA potentially tinkering with some tanking rules. But we got to start with March Madness because the Final Four is here this coming Saturday and, of course, Friday and Sunday for the women. For the men in the Final Four, I have 3 of my 4 original teams that were in the Final Four still in the bracket. Of course, it took a miracle for it to happen on Sunday, but I'll take it.
UConn for the win.
So we have UConn against Illinois, and we have Michigan versus Arizona. And I got to tell you, I personally disagree with who's favored in both games because Illinois is favored against UConn.
Really?
And Michigan is favored against Arizona.
Arizona is my only surviving team, and they are my champion and what I call my main bracket, the one where I'm actually serious.
I completely disagree with both of those things. I'll be honest. I give full credit to Illinois. They've been a good story all year. They're obviously with all the international kids, but I really think if they just play the way they played against Iowa on Saturday against UConn, they'd get blown out by 20.
Yeah.
That's my take. I do not think Illinois has played very well in most of these games. Houston, they just shut down to my shock because I had Houston
in the title game
region.
I had them winning that region. And let me just say, I got the wrong region, but I said there was going to be a 1 seed that didn't make it to the second weekend, and it was Florida. Unfortunately, I Michigan. I got part of that right. Part of it, small victory.
Did. I thought Florida was the weakest team in that region, but here's what I would say about March Madness. It is hard for me personally to criticize anybody's takes on March Madness because it's March Madness. What do we know? Anything can happen.
And there's been less upsets and madness to a degree. That's the one thing that you and I talked about a couple weeks ago is it's been more chalk, a lot more chalk the last couple of years now. And I'm wanting to see some chaos.
It has, but I mean, did you see the ratings, by the way?
They were, especially Duke Siena 116, where Siena almost looked like they were going to really pull it out. Siena led by as many as 10, and up until Duke lost to what? It was up until Duke lost, I mean,
in the Elite. Well, I'm just talking about the
Duke was
Elite
6-0
game on
prior
Sunday.
to their loss. 6-0 after trailing by 10 or more points, Brandon. That's not normal.
Well, also, you know what isn't normal? You know, including the loss Sunday against UConn, they had 3 losses this season. You know, all of them, they had a double-digit lead in the second half.
You're kidding.
Nope.
UConn, oh my God. Wow.
So, I mean, and listen, I said it's the truth. I like John Shire. I think he's a good coach. I think he's a great recruiter. I don't think he is the game plan adjuster that Coach K was. When I watch Duke, it's like they come in and they want to flex their muscle, and if they do flex their muscle, they can blow you out. But they're not good at adjusting. And I think UConn just stayed the course. And you could see, like at one point, UConn was 1 of 18 from 3, and you just saw the momentum flip consistently in that second half to the point where it was like, yeah, did Duke throw the game away? Yeah, but UConn outplayed them significantly in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree there at all. I mean, there's also, they were just recently 2-time back-to-back reigning champions up until this past year when Florida did take home the title. I mean, they've got a championship caliber level coach. They've got still some championship DNA on that roster. Even if they weren't necessarily starters on either of those two teams, they are guys who were there, even if they're just, role guys or bench players. You have to take that into account as well. And that's something that is so invaluable to a team like UConn, where we're talking real potential college basketball dynasty for right now. As for Duke, I do get where you're coming at with Shire. I don't necessarily disagree. Anyone who came after Coach K, it was going to be tough. It was going to be tough no matter what. And I think with Shire, he's still learning. I think he's gotten
I'm not
better,
saying
not
this
by
is like
leaps and bounds.
This is what I guess I'm going to say. Like, let's take Alabama, for example, football, because I think that's a good example.
Please. I love it.
I don't know yet if Kalen DeVore was the right guy to replace Nick Saban. What I'm trying to say with Duke is I do think Shire is the right guy to replace Coach K. I just don't think he's there yet strategically.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at, is that I think he's going to get there. It's just going to take a little bit of time. He's still young. He's still young for a head coach.
So I do want to ask you this, though. It's fascinating to me. We might have talked about this. You were on Brandon's Word a couple of weeks ago, and we might have touched on it. And to be honest with you, it's been so long, and I've been so busy with work, I don't even remember if we touched on it or not. But it struck me Saturday watching the Illinois game against Iowa. Illinois only made 3 threes the whole game, and they won the game. In the NBA, if you don't make 3 threes within like 5 minutes, your team stinks. So
I'll give it 8. Let's just give them a plus minus 8 minutes.
All right. I mean, I just think like college basketball and the NBA to me have never been different in terms of style of play. And I think we are romanticizing a little bit as a country of like, oh my God, it's great to see guys bang low in the post, go inside, use the low game. They're not calling many fouls at the rim. It's very competitive. The trapping, the 1-on-1, just all of these end of game scenarios have just made college basketball to me like the tournament. I don't care. People are mad. There's no Cinderellas. I don't care. I think the tournament's been great. I've been enjoying almost every game.
Yeah, I mean, almost every game has come down to the wire for the most part. That's been the one upside. But again, I do miss where you have a team that just completely busts everyone's brackets. Because man, I got a little bit of pool money off of that.
It may not have been, Loyola Chicago or NC State, but Iowa was that team, and I would argue Texas to some extent.
Yeah, that is true, definitely. Although, man, for folks who forget, if Oregon makes the tournament next year with Dana Altman, pick them for at least the first round, no matter what.
So, Michigan, Arizona, though, I actually believe is the national championship.
Let me touch on this. I may have touched on it on Brandon's World. So, I saw Big Ten tournament with Ohio State and Michigan, right?
Yep.
What I saw from Michigan, there was something that they just stopped. They just stopped for whatever reason. That's the best word I have right now. And Ohio State got back into that game, and they grabbed their only 2-point lead of that game later on. And then Michigan all of a sudden put their foot back on the gas pedal. That was why I had them like as my risky bet to go out like in the round of 32 to St. Louis potentially. And St. Louis put up 100 points on Georgia the game before. So it's like I'm like, you know what? I'm feeling kind of good. But if there's a weakness with Michigan, I think Ohio State provided the blueprint, and I hope Arizona's been looking at it because it was
I think
bizarre.
Arizona has the best backcourt in the country. I said going in over Duke. I thought Arizona should have been the undisputed 1 seed. I thought they were the best team in the country. So I'm riding with them. We'll see. It's going to be
my champ too. They're the only one left in my Final Four.
Fitz, let's move on to your favorite sport, Major League Baseball. And for the people at home that know, Fitz, you can educate the people on this. It is not the MLB.
That is correct.
MLB. And
so let's use this example. The Major League Baseball signed, or Major League Baseball signed, the NFL signed. Think of it like you're talking out loud. That's as simple as it can get. Now, there are some instances like the Major League Baseball amateur draft. I'll allow that. But for the most part, when you're able to drop the there, you don't need it.
So, as you know, when it comes to baseball, I'm usually a traditionalist. I was initially,
so am I. Just a little new school mix.
I was initially against, the pitch clock, the banning the shit, the stolen bases. They've all worked, but I was really for this ABS system, and it's not that I didn't think that every umpire should have its interpretation of the strike zone. I just didn't want them to have full robot umpires, but I just thought that umpires missed way too many calls. And their umpires, CB Buckner is one of them.
CB Buckner, yep. Let's get our bleeps and giggles out.
Who is getting, I don't want to say completely exposed, but let's say they're getting what should have. I think this technology really could have been implemented a few years ago.
I wish this was around for Angel Hernandez, dude. Yes. And people are already somehow forgetting about that, man.
Now, I will say,
had good interactions with fans, Angel Hernandez being, but holy bleep, when you have people empathizing a few years ago with Kyle Schwarber on a way outside the box strikeout, and he slams his bat and gets ejected, like holy crap! And with Buckner, it wasn't even just with ABS this. The past couple of days. What happened in that game with Milwaukee and Milwaukee, Tampa Bay? He wasn't even looking at the play as a first base umpire. That's what is more of a damning indictment on him to me, because he was more to the national audience. He was exposed more with, his pitch calling behind the plate. But in addition to that, having a non-ABS related thing like that crop up, holy crap.
Fitz, I'm going to say two things, one positive and one slight negative. Positive, I'm going to ask you a quick question. Okay. Do you or your family, do you guys watch and play along with Family Feud?
No.
I asked that question because to me, the ABS system is like the reveal of an answer on Family Feud. It's like a game show. It's quick. It's, there's drama to it. Are you right? Are you wrong? My one negative to it is this. There have been some pitches where, the ball or strike call has been defined by like 0.3 millimeters.
Yeah.
And it's like,
it can feel really like something? Yeah. I get where you're going at.
Is that because some of these umpires like, oh, he called a ball, but it was like, or he called a strike, but it was 0.3, milliliters down. It's like, I can't
be off on this
umpire
and I believe they're trying to kind of gauge it like where the zone is like more. It's not just structured to the umpire, obviously, but structured to each batter. So I forget who said the joke, but you're going to see a lot more accurate heights coming up. But
here's
in terms of that, like,
go ahead.
If a batter feels like again, we may see it differently on screen, and this is year one at the major league level, full implementation. there's going to be some ups and downs. There's going to be some hiccups. I think keeping it at 2 challenges is the correct move. I think you have to be smart as a team, and I think so far they've done, pretty well. I got April Fool's prank spoofed by pardon the interruption yesterday. First time in years I've been April fooled. So restart the damn clock.
I will say that one of the things I didn't understand about the rule that I do think is smart, when I heard about the 2 challenges, my
And I think I
brain
explained it to you. Yeah.
my brain never computed that if you win a challenge, you just get it back. Like I just thought you had 2 challenges throughout the whole game. So I do like that aspect of it. And here's what I'll say about this. I feel this way. You know how I feel about replay in all sports. I think in baseball, could they use this technology to help like speed up a play at first base, or like when we're looking at the stealing and is this guy's finger pinky like barely off the
Because
base
when
he
you
gets
have a
tagged?
situation like the other night, I think last night there was a challenge where between the Dodgers and Guardians, Ohtani was called out. Once the Guardians challenged it, the call was reversed. The ball gets into the glove. You see it get into the glove, but
Yes.
Ohtani almost has his spikes on that base.
Yep, I know exactly.
That's why it's that close, and it can be that. Those are some of the tougher calls, even if it's clear and
It
obvious
is.
in that situation.
But I guess my point is, could the ABS technology speed that process up a little bit?
I don't think so. I think especially it would get way too complicated. There's probably a way at some point, but especially tracking ball, having thing touch, I could see that getting messed up. Like it could be very messy, and I don't know how you would go about implementing it, especially on the base paths. It's already tough enough already, especially if something like a interference rule or obstruction or this or that comes into play. Like there's so many variables where it's just it would take a while.
So the other thing is this that I did not know, and I'm sure you probably saw this clip going around. You cannot use the ABS system if you have a position player in the game.
I didn't know that going into it, but it makes sense, and I agree with it fully.
I forgot who it was. I know it was somebody on Toronto against Colorado the other day. He basically threw out a Ephus pitch. You can't even see where the hell the ball is
baby, Ephus. There's multiple of those varieties. Oh God, give me. I'm gonna miss you, Darvish, if he's not able to come back. He's potentially retiring, but he's got elbow. It's a complicated story, but the few times he's thrown an Ephus, man, that's a thing of beauty.
I cannot wait to see this implemented in a big count in the postseason already. With the crowd environments, you have a big moment.
Did you see opening weekend with the Reds and Red Sox?
I did. The Reds fans were going crazy.
2 calls in the same at bat. And they had scored some runs, the Reds, during that game. It's late in the game. But Suarez, obviously a fan favorite from his original time there, comes back on a 1-year, pretty decent, 14, 15 million or something deal. After waiting it out on the free agent market, he gets 2 calls right against Buckner. And one of the things I love about ABS is we're holding umpires not only accountable, but if you don't want to be embarrassed, work on your craft. There have been umpires who've been out there. I'm not necessarily naming any names. I'm stating this as a general statement, Brandon, where they've made it about themselves and the glory hog, the attention, the ump show, And now we're seeing a way to hold guy like Buckner just does not seem to care. And I say that from the
I'll defend
space.
I'm not defending Buckner, but I will defend generally umpires on this. I think calling
I've done
balls and
something
strikes
before, and it's not easy. It's not easy to call balls and strikes.
It's not easy. I think it's
here's the problem that people don't realize. Catchers are actually part of the problem too with framing. Because some of the umpires who've gotten some of these calls wrong, it's come after a really great frame.
And that's not going away, by the way, because of the ABS. Framing is still a thing.
So there's some good and there's some bad to this. But overall, like seeing a team like Boston, because you would see this with the Yankees and Guardians in a postseason game, which we know we have. But seeing a big market team like Boston, who is already out of challenges, by the way, that's a whole nother part of the topic. But to see them A big
Wait,
market
what do you
squad
mean they're
actually
already
gets
out of
screwed over
challenges?
because they ran out of challenges. They had 2 incorrect challenges. And then they had Trevor Story on a
Oh.
way outside ball
Okay,
get
well,
called for
I
strike
thought you
3.
were talking about the way you said it. You were talking like
Yeah,
the
I
whole
probably
season.
could
I'm
jump the
like,
gun,
wait a minute.
but here's the thing is that I love that, especially some of these umpires who, for at least fan perception wise, have favored the big market teams. If there is an absolutely horrible call, we now have a way to reverse that. And I keep going back now to that Lane Thomas strike 3 call that shouldn't have been back 2 years ago in the ALCS.
There's a lot of plays in that ALCS.
That one particularly was the one that swung that game, and I don't know if you go to the World Series against the Dodgers. It's tough to say. I don't know. But I think you would have had 6 games against New York instead of 5.
So, Fitz, there is a show called It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. but it seems like if you're a fan of the Philadelphia Eagles, there's always some drama somewhere. I mean, now that, the drama with A.J. Brown's over, now we got to come out with this article with the 10 anonymous Eagle sources talking about their concerns with Jalen Hurts. And so my takeaway is, I'm going to be honest, I saw the headline of this article. I did not read the article. I will not read the article. I refuse to, because I think it's a lot of clickbait. I think it's a lot of BS. And I think that this Philly media wants to start BS. However, I will say this. This Eagles organization, they are an organization that wants to make changes if there needs to be changes to be made. And they will move off quarterbacks. They will move off coaches if they feel the need to. And I don't like a lot of noise in buildings. That's one of my rules in the offseason.
Oh, you should. That's where having less noise and Berea while Kevin Stefanski was head coach was somewhat of a relief. There's been more noise the last few months than there had been the prior 6 years.
So here's my big overarching picture on this. As an Eagles fan, it's tough for me to admit, but this is how I honestly feel. I think my team is either going to use this as motivation. Jalen's going to play well. A.J. Brown's going to have a great year. They're going to be back in perennial Super Bowl contention. Or they're going to win 5 games. And there's a possibility that this may be Jalen Hurts last year as the Philadelphia Eagles quarterback. Because
that would be hard for me to believe the latter scenario.
Well, here's the situation that I do find interesting. This year is the last year that Jalen Hurts' money and his contract is fully guaranteed.
So are you thinking that Howie Roseman's going to draft a quarterback in this draft in the first 2 rounds?
I do not. However, I do think that it will be a story in the offseason if the offense struggles again. What I think is they're going to play this season out. And if by chance Jalen struggles, the team is bad, whatever situation could become negative this year, could they load up and go for next year's quarterback class? I think that is at least not a 0% possibility.
Yeah. At least, thank God, I can't imagine what Howie Roseman would have done if the Browns hadn't withdrawn that insane proposal. Trade 5 years worth of draft picks. Thank God. Bye-bye.
And I know that there was a conversation on Cleveland Talk Radio this week about, would you, if you're the Browns, trade Myles Garrett for Jalen Hurts?
I know the cap logistics probably wouldn't make much sense, but if you're getting a quarterback who has won a Super Bowl, and he is a good quarterback who is not Deshaun Watson, who actually knows how to run a playbook, run a huddle, then yeah, I would do that deal. Do that deal as much as I would miss Garrett, and I love Garrett.
This is where I would actually surprise you. If I'm the Browns, actually don't make that deal.
Yeah, and I get I think I know where you're going to go at with this.
And I think the reason is, number one, Jalen's expensive. Mm-hmm. And number 2 is Jalen, and again, I love him. I think Jalen Hurts, especially in the postseason when he's clutch, I've argued on this show and other shows, I think he's a top 5 quarterback, arguably in the league.
Oh, yeah, totally.
But at the same token, you can make the argument he does need a run game. He does need a good offensive line. He does need good weapons, which I've said almost every quarterback does need that. So I'm not holding that against him. Mm-hmm. But the Browns do not have that. So we're only addressing this because they were talking about it in the Cleveland media, which I think is, Cleveland's way of not talking about the Cavs or the Guardians because they have to talk about the Browns.
It's a whole messy situation, and I won't get into it, but I don't know if Tony Rizzo is getting paid under the table. I'm saying this mostly in jest, or if he doesn't know anything right now. But the way that I need to just tell people this, folks, the person who selected Sanders wasn't Jimmy Haslam. It was J.W. Johnson, his son-in-law. J.W. Johnson actually lost out on a battle at the top of last year's draft where he wanted to select Travis Hunter. And I've heard from sources, Hunter's a really good high character, probably one of the highest character guys from last year's class. So I'm not taking this as a shot at Travis Hunter, okay? But he lost out on an argument to a different faction in the building, not necessarily the coaching staff, where they ended up trading down, and you get Mason Graham, you get the pick that you take Judkins with, and you still wound up taking Schlesinger with your original pick, and you get the quote-unquote great draft class that saved Andrew Berry's butt. That doesn't happen unless JW loses that argument, which he did. But he did butt his way in and really screwed things up when he got Shedeur Sanders selected.
Well, back to this conversation. No, I mean, do I think it's possible the Eagles take a quarterback in like the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round, day 3? Yeah, I do. Especially if they're going to trade.
They typically have at least the last couple of years, every few years, right?
They have a lot of interesting directions where they could go in the first round. I could see them maybe trying to get Lane Johnson's replacement.
That would be good for them. That would be very good.
If they like who's there. I could see maybe you go after Dallas Goedert's eventual replacement, because I do think this will be Goddard's last year in Philly.
I think you can get a guy, maybe, I don't think Ohio State tight end Max Clare is going to go in the first round. But
no, he's going to be like the second or third
I know
round
somebody
pick.
who was teammates with him while Clare was at Purdue. And
they
I got a ringing endorsement of Clare, so I think he could be a solid tight end. I'm not saying he's going to be a star at all, but I think he could be a guy you could get into the 3rd round easily.
They definitely need edge rusher and safety, so they could go there too. I guess my point is this. I don't expect them to take A.J. Brown's replacement in the 1st round. I don't expect them to move off Jalen Hurts this year. And there is this story about Jalen out there that, Jalen's refused to change the offense. He doesn't want to go under center much. And
should we talk about Lamar Jackson in that same vein?
Well, I've talked about this too. I think it's, and again, some people in the media talk about this, but not everybody. Jalen Hurts has had literally a different play caller in his ear every season in college and pro football, except for one. The year that he was his second year in Philadelphia. It was Sirianni's first year. Sirianni called the plays for the first half of that season. They go 2-5. He gives the play calling over to Shane Steichen. They go on the run. They make the playoffs. They lose to Tampa in that wild card game. Mm-hmm. Steichen is the full-time play caller the next year. We go to the Super Bowl. Everybody knows the history after that.
Yeah. But do you remember that not only Baker in Cleveland, but even through Carolina, LA Rams, and in Tampa Bay, he's basically had a different play caller every single goddamn year. And when you're changing
that, when you're changing this, it's just hard. It's going to take time.
And that's, you've seen that with Philly. They've been able to have success. Cleveland, unfortunately, not. I don't remember how Buffalo's done it, with some of their recent, coordinator turnover. But
listen,
it's so hard to do when you're turning over a staff position like that.
And there is no denying our division got better. The Giants absolutely got better. I think the Commanders are going to be potentially right there again if Jaden Daniels is healthy.
Do you think they take Jeremiah Love? Because that's something if he turns into a McCaffrey type, holy crap.
See, they need so much help on defense. I don't know what they will.
They there's that too.
And like you talked about with Tennessee, they just need the argument with Tennessee is we just need a playmaker because we have none. The Commanders at least
So
have Terry
Robert Saleh
McLaurin.
being the head coach being hired, I think that your first pick's probably going to trend.
No,
towards
I
defense.
agree with you, except for if you want to say we literally have no talent, we need to give Cam Ward
They've got some
sort of
talent. They got some guys like not necessarily top shelf, not your number ones like your J Jeffs, your
They got
Chases.
about 5 threes.
I'd say they have at least 1.5 twos in terms of WR2s. At least one, if not like a fringe second one. But
well,
by the way, later this month, our mock draft will drop at some point. You should make sure to read all of that.
I'm not here to debate the Titans. What I am here to debate, though, is a possibility we could be going back to the damn replacement refs.
Oh, the fail Mary.
So I know that the NFL passed a rule at the spring meetings that basically said that replay can reverse
certain fouls, more so like the ones like, probably I think head to head, helmet. Thank God, fuck you NFL, because 2021 Kansas City Sorensen, where was the flag?
But that rule was put in depending on if there's going to be replacement officials or not. And
it's still going to happen, at least for 1 year, one trial year.
The NFL, the officiating has obviously been criticized for years. I thought it was particularly bad this year, and I've never been a conspiracy guy, but some of those games, I swear to God, have gambling implications on them because I've watched the end of some games this year. They were not pretty. I go back to I don't know if you remember Denver and Vegas. Denver was up 10 and they had like a 4th and 2 at the Vegas 4 and they went for it, didn't get it. Vegas with no timeouts left, drive down the field, they kick a field goal. I think the line was 7.5 and they lost by 7. And me and Wilcox had pretty much a meltdown
I remember that
because we both had Denver minus 7.5. But listen, I mean, it sounds.
You remember 2020 when Chubb broke off that long run against the Texans and he chose to go out of bounds? I had him on at least one of my fantasy teams, but he still scored me enough points to, I think, win me that matchup. But man, were people ticked off when he didn't go into the end zone to cover have the spread go one way or the other.
I'll say this. At least it sounds like the NFL knows that this could be a big fight and sounds like they're going to potentially be training some referees now instead of calling in high school teachers to come in on the weekends the way they did the first time.
Regardless of who they end up bringing in, and it's going to, if you don't remember, I think from the last go around, or maybe I'm thinking of a different scenario, there was a ref that was at one point assigned to a Saints game. I forget if this was during replacement or if this was during closer to a playoff or regular season game, but that guy was pulled off of that game.
That was during COVID. I think it was a betting scandal. Because I think
it didn't happen. The guy didn't get into that game, but they pulled him off of that assignment. So it's it didn't become a scandal necessarily, but they preemptively made sure that they didn't allow something like that happen. Right now, there are probably people who want to have certain things go their way, and that's where we have to be concerned.
So I don't know how you feel about the whole, should the NFL have full-time officials? Maybe
they should have at least a head ref and a sub head ref, full-time training, understanding the rule book, and then being able to work with all the other crews. That way you have again, at least 2 refs on the same crew every goddamn year who are ready, trained, know the rule book in and out. And it's very weird, but I think you need to have
if you're going to pay officials full time for, because football is as short as regular season, it's 6-7 months, whatever it is. So if you're going to do that, to me, this is what you do. In the off season, those full-time officials are the referees for the UFL.
Yeah, that would be a perfect solution, to be honest.
Because I think the UFL, and I mean, I got to be honest with you. I watched some of the Columbus, and I think it was Birmingham, or I don't remember exactly who. It was a Sunday night game. I'm watching that game for just like 5-10 minutes. There's NFL guys in the UFL.
There are NFL guys there.
I think the UFL is going to become what minor league baseball almost is to Major League Baseball.
That's what I've kind of seen. It's like it's just a wait and see game on that front.
So, well, one more kind of interesting topic here in the NFL before we get into the draft portion of it is, I don't know if you've seen this, but the NFL is starting to negotiate new media agreements. They have come out and they have said, we want these deals done by the season starts. They're already working with CBS. They're working with Fox. They are reportedly going to cut back the Monday Night Football games. There's going to be no doubleheader Monday night like there have been.
I like the doubleheader Monday nighters, to be honest. I don't like the Thursday nighters they do sometimes.
Well, this is what they're going to do. They're going to take those, however many they had, 4 or 5 doubleheaders. They're going to take what would be those games and put those 4 games somewhere else in the schedule, whether that's in another package, whether that's in like a Thanksgiving Eve game, which has been talked about, which would be the Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
I like the way that they've done just like random rotation of divisional rivals in that game, like the last couple of years. That I think that works better for the nightcap after your Lions play first or.
Well, no, they're going to have that too. So there's going to be.
Yeah, those two teams are going to play on Thanksgiving, no question about that. But I like what they. I think I like it where they have divisional rivals going head to head for the nightcap. It kind of has at least some level of significance to it.
Me and Josh are big schedule nerds. And I have made the argument that, and I hope that this is not the case, and it looks like it's not going to be the case. My biggest fear when it came to 2030, because listen, we all know the NFL is actually getting underpaid for their media rights deal. I mean, somehow NBC
they are not getting underpaid. They're being paid fair market. It's just the way that it looks.
No, they're not. They're getting significantly.
You know what I mean, man. Come on. You know what I mean.
Fitz. NBC's paying more for Sunday Night Basketball than they are Sunday Night Football. It just should not be the case. The NFL is asking for a 50% increase from each network. CBS, NFL, Amazon Prime, and Prime wants more games.
Network is owned by the NFL and then combine that with ESPN. My main thing here is this ask of this. Again, your figure here, 50% increase. Is this them thinking that they will for sure get an 18th game? And
yes.
if you're the players, I'm willing to lose a season for a lockout. I am.
No,
17 games.
Did you see this proposal? Me and Jalen Sandvik talked about this last week on the show. The proposal of 18 games, but the players only play 17.
So I think I've heard of that one before, but I just
I
don't know how you make it work.
Which would be insane for fantasy purposes. I mean, but it would be strategy, right? It'd be almost like the NBA anti-tanking, where like theoretically, if you're playing the Jets every week, for example, do the Eagles rest Jalen Hurts or do the Rams rest Matthew Stafford because you think you could beat the Jets without those guys? I don't like it. I am all for 2 preseason games, 18 regular season games. You expand the rosters, 2 bye weeks, because injuries are going to happen regardless. Yeah. And I think preseason is actually more risky than the regular season because these guys aren't going full speed.
Yeah. By the way, if you didn't know, it's been 9 years since I made my varsity team at Holy Name. Shout out to Coach Carter. 18 is my number that I got to wear on my back. But 18 NFL games, as much as that number sounds nice in my head, it does not make sense for an on-the-field product. I would argue that you're going to get a sloppier product. You're going to get a more... I don't like that they've added that 17th game at all, period. I get why they did.
I'd rather have, I'll put it this way. I'd rather have 16 than 17, but I'd rather have 18 than 17. I don't like 17. I don't like odd numbers. I think odd numbers are
I know,
weird.
and that's where I'm like, I will agree with you on that front, and you know why for various reasons. But I will just leave it at that. Not anything bad. Just like I'm just trying to make it a little bit of a little.
Well, anyway, so back to my original point.
Yeah.
My fear was that actually Netflix was going to get like the A package, and Amazon was going to get
would have been
the B
pissed off
package.
about.
And they were going to basically say F broadcast television, and CBS and Fox were going to go under, because I don't care what these networks say. Football is what's paying the bills for all of these networks. They all have their streaming services now. I get it, but without the NFL, they're cooked. And so,
by the way, can we make sure the NFL? I need to double check this with you, Brandon. The NFL with their with the Netflix games, right? If it's an in-market game for like a Cleveland, right? They have to air it on a local channel too, correct?
I know they do it for Prime, so I'm assuming that yes, they do so for Netflix.
That's what Major League Baseball needs to do. I know we're going off on a different tangent, but oh my freaking God. For Sunday Night Baseball, the very first one, Guardians, Mariners, for that to just be on Peacock and not on NBC, that's a problem. That is a gosh darn problem for both. The fact that you don't have, and the Guardians had two, they were exclusive on Friday night with the Mariners last week on Apple TV, and they had all those late starts. Come on.
Yeah,
the game and the blackouts. And if you're not going to do that, if you're going to put them on an exclusive streaming platform, do what the NFL does. Put them on a local channel, which WKYC has done for years.
So I've never been, and this is an all sports thing, I've never been a fan. And I'm used to it now because, like, for wrestling, Monday Night Raw is on Netflix. But I've never been a fan of professional sports games being a streaming exclusive. I'm a big fan of broadcast. I think streaming is hard to flip back and forth. I'm annoyed by it, but it's the sign of the times. But the NFL now is going to try to basically package the international games. You know, CBS and Fox, what I'm trying to say is they're going to get less games. The NFL wants to create more exclusive national windows.
Yeah, well, I'll tell them this. Good luck getting me to sign up for more subscription services, which are already bloated. And because it's not happening. Unless someone is paying for my subscription. I'm not saying you. Unless someone is paying for my subscription, I'm not paying for it. It's already crazy expensive.
Too much. I mean, I told you I will just not pay for Apple TV.
Do you remember when we had our Kent cable cut during our final year at Kent State? They saved about $500,000, I believe, to up to maybe $1 million total, if I'm thinking about that one right. There was multiple cuts that saved them hundreds of thousands of dollars that they made in our final year at Kent. YouTube TV was extremely pricey. And to go through that experience and know that Netflix is basically, whether or not they've passed that point from 6 years ago now or not, I believe they probably have. No one should be able to stomach that.
And with that, let's move on to the Alabama quarterback who's going to enter this draft, known as Ty Simpson.
So do you want to hear the good news if you're a potential quarterback needy team right now?
Well, let me set up the question and then I'll let you dive in. So I think, we all know NFL QB needy teams get desperate. And Ty Simpson is labeled right now as the second best. So one person out there, I'm not going to name names, one person thinks he's the best quarterback in this draft class. I completely disagree. I think it's Mendoza. But I do think some person's going to draft Ty Simpson. I don't think he's ready. I thought he should have stayed in school. I didn't love the tape that I saw at Alabama, but I think it just goes to show that some of these teams that, in my opinion, should just tank and wait till next year are going to get desperate. He's going to get drafted. He shouldn't even play this year. And I think my train of thought is correct in thinking that because we all think Fernando Mendoza potentially could be one of the next great prospects in the NFL. The Raiders today just signed Kirk Cousins. And
that's a good thing because they finally realized don't F up a quarterback. Tom Brady sat behind Bledsoe.
And what I'm hearing is Kirk is going to start week 1.
Yeah, that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Yeah, here's
Mendoza
the thing.
learn.
I mean, Fitz, we talked about this before. It does kind of hurt our Raiders prediction for the year because the Raiders may say, let's stink one more year with Kirk, let Mendoza develop. Maybe we get another
Kirk
high
looked
draft
like he
pick.
was gaining a stepper and a half back or something like that. Like at least he was looking better.
He
the more
did,
he
but he was
played.
also going up against the NFC South, which is not the AFC West.
Yeah, plus the implosions. But like Carolina's gotten better. The funny thing was the 20% paid off instead of the 80%, if you get that reference.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my point is, listen, Ty Simpson's going to go in the first round. I don't wish Josh Rosen or Zach Wilson on anybody.
I think he's going to go right at the end of the first or within the middle of the second round.
See, I think he's going to go first round. I think a team like Pittsburgh, I could totally see them taking a shot.
I see the team that I'm going to have my eye on is actually going to be Atlanta. I really think
not again.
I could see it. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but here's what is good news about Ty Simpson. Unlike Johnny Manziel, Deshaun Kaiser, Shedeur Sanders, Mitch Trubisky's the one who had the gut punch sense, and we talked about it last year when I was on the show, and Josh was here as well. When the gut punch goes off against a quarterback prospect, and it went off against Aller while he was still at Penn State, Drew Aller, local Medina kid. We'll get into him in a minute. That is a bad thing. That is a very bad thing because it's automatic prediction of failure, 100% accuracy. And it's nearly 100% accuracy for all games since 2007 for the Browns. Good news for teams right now. The gut punch has not gone off for Ty Simpson. Now, does that mean he's going to be good in his first year or second year? Can't tell you. But the other thing to keep in mind, just because it doesn't go off doesn't mean that they will be a good player or not. Same situations happened with Baker Mayfield and Denzel Ward. Didn't go off, no guarantees. But I think Simpson is going to I see some stuff. Not enough. He's not ready. Everything you said, I agree with in full. He should have stayed in. And that was what was surprising because I believe he declared first and then Oregon's Dante Moore, correct me if I'm wrong.
I was not a fan of Dante Moore either. I think Dante Moore needs another year in school.
And Dante Moore returned, so he made the wise move. But I thought he was more ready than Simpson was.
I thought it was close. I mean, I wasn't the biggest fan. I think Simpson's got a better arm than Dante Moore. I'll say that. Can I throw a team other though? Because you mentioned Atlanta. I don't know if you know this because I just learned this last week. The Dolphins have 4 third-round picks.
Oh.
I don't think they're making all those picks in the third round.
And the Jets have a lot of picks in the upcoming.
Do they package and maybe, I'm not going to say at 11, but do they package some of those third rounders and maybe come up at like 22 or 23 with Philly?
It'll be interesting. I don't know.
Or somebody.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting. But let me just say this, though. If you didn't see the poll, dude. Someone we know, Nick Padone, put out a poll. He basically said once Mendoza and Simpson get drafted, who's QB3? The options were other Carson Beck, Nussmeier, the quarterback from LSU, and we mentioned him a minute ago, Drew Aller. Who do you think got the highest percentage?
Well, based off from what you told me, it's going to be Aller. I'm going to guess from what you told me, it's a lot.
43%. 43% out of nearly 260 votes. The next best was 31% Nussmeier, Beck 15, other 11.
So that's
I had someone reply to me.
I had
someone to reply to me because I full QRT that and like you're joking. And when 135 respondents had made it, so I hadn't tweeted it when it gone final. 47 at 135 votes, 47% were saying Aller. Look, he's a local kid. Yeah, but that doesn't mean, especially, again, got punched. That was the first ever that went off in college for a kid. I don't know what people are on, what acid trip they're on. He's not the next best quarterback after either of those two. People, wake the hell up.
I mean, here's what I'll say. I don't like any of them.
I don't
Adler
neither do
reminds me
but
of,
I'm like, he's not the third quarterback off the board.
Adler reminds me of a guy who I think you may remember because I think they have similar stories. This guy was going to be a top 5 pick in the draft, like Adler was talked about coming into this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got hurt, and he dropped all the way to the 4th round. And he only lasted a couple of years, then he was out of the league.
Is it the quarterback from Michigan State? Please tell me I'm thinking of the right one.
No, you're not thinking of Connor Cook. This guy played at USC.
Oh, Barkley?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Oh, man.
So Matt Barkley was going to be a top pick in the draft. He
that was a shocker because I think they were coming off the final year.
Yep.
Like they had just ended the bowl ban, all the sanctions, all that.
He stayed in school, got hurt, fell to the 4th round. My Eagles actually picked him with the first pick of the 4th round. It was 100 overall. And then he was out of the league within a couple of years. I'm not saying that's going to be Drew Adler, but that's sort of the path that I could see him
Here's
going
where
down.
I land on it. If he comes to the Browns, it just cannot be within his first season in the league. If he gets drafted, I don't think he will, personally. Personally, I don't think Drew Adler is going to be a draft pick. At best, UDFA. But if he lands in Cleveland first, his career is over. But if he stays with another team first for at least a year, he has a chance to at least stick around as backup in the NFL.
I think
if the Browns get him first, that's going to be his death of NFL career. Period.
I don't think he's going to go to the Browns because I don't think the Browns are going to draft a quarterback. They have too many quarterbacks already in the room.
Yeah, and I would rather them get rid of the demon, please and thank you.
No, I don't even want to talk about that.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said that.
Like I think Nussmeier with the right coach is probably the 3rd quarterback.
That's probably where I would lean because Carson Beck's got experience, but he's not boning.
I was turned off Carson Beck when Georgia moved on, and I know he played well at the end of the year in Miami. He did. He impressed me, but when Georgia moves off you,
Beck was a great college quarterback. He's not a great pro quarterback.
I wholeheartedly agree, which is pretty rare because we don't always agree on quarterbacks. So if I'm in this draft, I think I've told you this before. I would have been off topic, but I think it's worth the conversation. I think this draft is a very interesting draft because I think there is one clear-cut number 1 overall pick. And after that, there are a bunch of really good players. Some skill position, but mostly edge rusher and offensive lineman. And I think a lot of these teams are going to have very similar grades on players. I've said this before, and I may be wrong. I think, and I know there's already been some trades by teams, but I think come draft night, unless it's for unless an AJ Brown trade does go down or something of that nature, I don't think we're going to have teams trying to move up for players. I think we're going to
you're going to see a lot of trade downs. Yeah.
I actually don't think that either. I think we're going to have a very quiet trade night on draft night. I think teams are just going to stay.
So you think first round will be mostly chalk with teams staying with whatever picks they enter the night with, and then we'll see a little craziness day 2?
Yeah, I'm not going to say chalk in terms of this is the guy they're for sure going to draft. I mean chalk in terms of I think they're going to stay at that pick and take whoever their best player on their board is rated.
This is not. Oh my God! One of the top Royals catching prospects, Carter Jensen, was scratched from their lineup today due to oversleeping. And
you scared me. I thought we had breaking news,
dude. I'm just trying to check if there is, but the last time I remember a player like Yasiel Puig years ago for the Dodgers just got benched because he was very late for a game. If I'm remembering it all correct, but oh my God, I oversleep, dude. You're a catcher. You need to be ready.
That almost reminds me of that story a few years ago, and I forget the guy's name. The White Sox catcher who was like a 3rd-string catcher, and he went.
Oh, you're in Mercedes. You're in Mercedes.
Yeah. And then he got benched because of an unwritten rule.
Tony La Russa.
And Tony La Russa didn't like it. And
look, he's not really put up the same numbers again. It was a great story, and I would have liked to have seen him you never know if a guy does really get into rhythm. Maybe that unlocks something. As someone who has played one of the hardest games where trying to put bat to ball is not easy. But
if you hit 300, you're a Hall of Famer, 30%.
exactly. And it's like, although, and that's even more rare these days. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw this. Back 10 years ago, there were the top 10 prospect list. There's only 3 superstars. There could have been a fourth. I will not name that fourth. They were the number 4 prospect in 2016. However, they pulled a dumb move, and let's just say they sabotaged themselves right as they were heading into free agency. And they have never pitched in Major League Baseball again.
So, Fitz, it's funny. As we get into our last topic of the night here, I feel like back in the day, we used to agree on the NBA quite a bit. Not on everything, but we used to agree quite a bit.
Oh, there were so many disagreements, but we did agree on a lot.
And I do feel like that over the past year or two, we've disagreed on sort of the state of the game a little more than we usually have. And this year, obviously, the tanking has been excessive. I mean, most of these games are complete and utter wipeouts. Mm-hmm. But I think one of the reasons why is because this college basketball class for the draft really could be historic. And
could be kind of like the 24 Major League Baseball draft class, which, again, for folks who are in Cleveland trying to call Bazana a bust, every prospect has a different timeline. There are also other reasons that could go into it. I'm not going to say what. Just shut up and relax.
So, I think the NBA does not have a tanking problem.
They don't. They absolutely don't. The problem is the NBA is trying to create a problem and fix a problem that's not there in the first place.
I think the problem is, and I've said this before, I may have told you this directly on Brandon's World, I don't remember. Mm-hmm. To me, and I'm going to use the NFL a little bit here. It's not the NFL's fault. The Jets and the Browns are bad. They have bad management. They can't draft. It's not the NFL's fault. It is not the NBA's fault.
Well, the NFL didn't exactly do the Browns any favors with their expansion draft, but overall point taken.
It's not the NBA's fault that the Wizards have been terrible for years and the Kings have mostly been terrible.
Well, they fell apart. John Wall, Bradley Beal, all that.
They've had bad management. They've had bad drafting, and the Wizards got unlucky. And the one year they got the number 1 pick, it was probably the worst NBA draft in recent memory. No disrespect to Sarr.
So to be honest, I don't even know who that is. I'm not kidding.
That's what I mean. That's what I think the problem is with the NBA. And I think Adam Silver and them, they clearly, there's going to clearly be implemented. One way or another, they're going to create some sort of anti-tanking rule because they want it.
Well, let's also, if you're going to create that, then let's also get rid of a rule that's been limiting players from MVP and all NBA consideration, which is utterly asinine because players get hurt. You can't have all these players get disqualified for MVP that are clearly deserving.
Yeah. I mean, the NBA story this year could not be told without Cade Cunningham, and he's not even eligible for MVP.
And that's what's crazy. It's like, what, 1, maybe 2 games, and it's due to something that's out of his control, and it falls just outside of an exception that would have allowed him to remain eligible.
I mean, LeBron at 42 is still averaging like 20 points a game. There's an award for oldest man award or whatever. He's not eligible for any awards because he's missed too many games.
I know. It's like he is still one of the best players on the planet.
I'm pretty sure Jokic is in danger. I think
he is right up on that line, or he's crossed it.
I think he's right there. I think if he misses 1 or 2 more, which to me dilutes
the asinine and stupid. We agree on that.
I think it dilutes the MVP because you're almost giving it to SGA, or who I really think should be the MVP, and Victor Wembanyama.
Victor, I would agree with
by
that.
default.
Like, especially when I think I was on Brandon's roll, and you told me about what the Spurs were doing, and my jaw dropped.
Did you see what he did? By the way, did you see what he did last night?
I didn't, because I was watching the Guardians take a series victory over the Dodgers, baby. Dodgers 2 losses from Cleveland.
Let me pull up his exact stat line real quick. I know the other night he became, I think, the 3rd player in NBA history to have a double-double within the first 8 minutes of the game. He had 10 and 10 within the first 8 minutes of the game. Last night against, against Golden State. How about this, Fitz? In 29 minutes, he had 41 points and 18 rebounds.
Shit.
In 29 minutes.
18 rebounds is the more impressive part to me in 29 minutes.
How about this? March 30th against Chicago. 41 points and 16 rebounds in 30 minutes.
That's insane, too. Holy crap.
I mean,
I didn't think the Spurs were going to be back until next year in full. I
thought they were going to be like where the Cavs are this year. 4 or 5 seed. Not really real championship contenders. But
keep the 4. Keep the 4. Let's go through the path to the top.
I did not expect this. But anyway, like we talked about this before, and I think this is where we sort of agree to disagree. I think we disagree on what the NBA has a problem with, but I think the NBA is ignoring their league. I would, and I know what the numbers and the ratings say. I think baseball is more popular right now.
It is.
I'll be honest.
It is.
I think baseball is more popular. I think baseball's done a way better job marketing their stars. Remember,
they've done a better job. They still could do better.
Christian Hidden from Voltage Live wrote that article last summer talking about the difference between how the MLB has marketed their young stars versus the NBA.
Yeah, and I don't know if you're aware of this, Brandon. There's been a spate, an absolute just run of extensions of young players, some of who not even made their debut. Top prospect in the sport, still a teenager, phenom Connor Griffin, with a K, by the way. He is, I think he may have signed an extension, or he was on his way to working on an extension with Pittsburgh, and he is being called up. He will be active in the lineup at shortstop for the Pirates tomorrow for their home opener. They didn't need to bring him up that quickly unless they had something like an extension in the works, because they could have kept him down a little bit. Probably like what I'm guessing with Cleveland is keeping Bizana down for one of several reasons is they could have earned some more control, kept the cost down, but no. And then Cooper Pratt, he's a prospect with the Brewers, and Colt Emerson, who, by the way, he was second in the state of Ohio for OHSAA in home runs 3 years ago. He had 8, the top had 9, and one of Westlake's kids, KL Cipollone, had 6. He signed a deal that's, $95 million at least total guaranteed that could push upwards to around like $130+ million. And he hasn't even, and he nearly made the roster as like a 20, maybe almost 21-year-old. And there are so many great young stars. And I know that, again, a lot of these guys have been coming from that 24 draft class or 23. And I want to just remind people, just because a prospect doesn't come up right away, there's obviously certain things that they need to work on, or there are organizations who will not necessarily do the right thing. Look at the Cubs in 2015. They got an extra year out of Chris Bryant by keeping him down just long enough. That's what some orgs are still doing to this day, even with the prospect promotion package. But that's where, again, young players being marketed, it's so much better. Outside of like probably Wembanyama, it's been so hard to follow. And I wrote that on that one article that we posted recently, rather.
Well, let me ask you this question, because I think this year NBA draft picks maybe not. I'll say it like this: NBA draft picks may not be as valuable as they will be this year, because I think, again, this draft class is going to be historic, and I think college basketball has helped the NBA, because I think there's going to be a lot more kids coming out of college that have been in college and are ready to play now. Like, I think the NBA draft is going to give us better prospects year in and year out.
And we're going to see more guys who are like, among like the Michael Jordans, the Magic Johnsons, who actually stayed in school longer.
So my solution is this: you keep the draft, because there's been some thoughts out there.
You don't get rid of the draft, period. I'm tired of that line of thinking. But I get there are merits to it, but come on.
What I do think is this: I've always felt this way. You call me a conspiracy theorist all you want. I've always felt like the lottery is rigged.
I was in favor of that for the Spurs and Wembanyama. I will not lie.
And I think you need to get rid of the lottery because I think what that will do is a team like the Wizards, okay, you're bad a year or two, but if you get the right draft picks, you're going to get better.
Well,
But
here's the thing that Major League Baseball did with their draft lottery. There are certain teams that are bad historically. Like, let's just say Colorado Rockies. I know there's one or two teams that had like top 10 overall picks, and it also depends on a few other factors. They are now having to draft 11th at the very best because they can't have certain picks within a certain range multiple years in a row.
I would argue
that's what needs to happen. Is that if you're going to have teams
either.
being in the lottery, you need to send them the heck to the back of the line, because if you can't improve after having multiple shots at top talent, you should have to have a limit on where you can slide, and that might even change how some pick protections go. And to be honest, it might make some GMs a little bit more smart.
Here's my thing, though. That's on management. That's not on the team.
True. That is on management, but also it's on management to create a great roster and find the right coach. And the problem is so many management teams just don't get it.
Also, I think you'd make a case out of because I'm not a hockey fan, so I don't know.
Neither am I.
So I'm taking the NFL, Major League Baseball, and the NBA.
Major League Baseball, NBA, NFL. You know the reasons why I'm doing that order, and I mean that sincerely.
I think you can make the case that out of those three sports, the NBA is the sport where coaching matters the least.
Yeah, probably.
Because think about the Spurs. And this is why I say I think tanking does work because they got the number one pick. They go from a team that nobody cared about. What did they win 3 years ago? 10 games, 14, however many games they won.
I forget.
To literally be, in everybody's opinion, now that Wemby's had a full year healthy, just think about that, just one full year healthy.
And that was a health scare last year. Like, we were all worried about him.
We were worried about his career longevity. And now they're favorited to, I would say they're favorited to win the title. The odds may say OKC. I think they should be favorited to win the title.
Yeah. I'm honest. I would love to see, and I know it's more like fan pipe dreaming here, Brandon, so don't take this too seriously. But I'd love to see Mobley versus Wembanyama, just the two of them taking center stage in a finals. Doesn't have to be this year, but it could be even like in the next couple of years.
As Cavs fans, obviously, I'd love to see it. For me, for the NBA, because I've said this, the NBA needs a great playoff because they've been getting beat up from PR, from sports shows.
Well, here's also a thing I think the NBA can start emphasizing is players. I'm not joking about this. Players need to start working on their lower half. LeBron James is built like a tank. He's not like skinny leg Kevin Durant. Well, he's not like skinny leg Tyrese Halliburton. We've had too many lower body injuries, non-contact.
Well, the problem is
part of it is the court.
They don't need to because there's no post game anymore because all they do is shoot threes.
But here's the problem: is the guys who don't, even the big guys or small guys, guards, doesn't matter the position. There are too many injuries to the lower extremity that can be avoided. Would actually work on those muscles.
Well, actually, LeBron talked about this. The reason why that's happening is because they are shooting too many threes. The game is too spread out.
That's why I'm saying work on your lower bodies and go and drive to the hoop.
They need to do that, but when your analytics department is incentivizing that a mid-range shot is bad, and we have the talent that we have where all we can do is literally shoot a three, and it goes in 40% of the time, we're more than likely going to win more games.
The 2016 Atlanta Hawks, if I remember right.
But again, if you look at the numbers of 3-point shooting, which we're almost out of time, so I don't want to go through this now, but I challenge you guys. Look up the 3-point shooting numbers between the Warriors in 16 versus the Celtics in 24. It's astronomical.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the Warriors were an outlier among outliers.
No, they're not. They just started the trend. Now it's even worse. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, wow. This is news. Anthony Edwards is out today. He won't qualify for postseason awards.
Again, just another problem with
that is a major problem. Now that MVP pool is way over diluted.
Yes.
Wow.
Shooting team leaders.
God damn, that is
Sorry,
so...
guys. I'm doing this live on the air right now. I want to see if I can pull this up from the stat line, if we can see who has the number.
I'm trying to... 'Cause again, there
Okay, here
are
we go.
apparently a few small exceptions to the rule, and the one exception that Cade Cunningham could have gotten into, he just missed somehow.
Okay, let's do 3 points attempted. So let's do it by, there we go. Okay, so this year, Golden State leads the NBA in 3-point shots attempted, currently right now with 3,389. Okay, let's go. So that's about 3,400. Let's go to that 15-16 Golden State team. And they shot, it's loading up.
By the way, shout out to Kevin Love for his Game 7 defense.
Yes. So I'm trying to get it to load here. This is what happens when you're live on the fly and on the air. It's actually not loading.
Yeah.
LOL. the NBA does not want me to expose them on the overarching 3-point shot. So let's just leave it there, guys. If I can pull this up in the next couple minutes, I will. It's been a great show, Fitz. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, no. Let's see. Okay, here we go.
Oh.
Okay, here we go. Let's go to 3-point attempted. Do we have the okay, so the average, let's do this.
9 years, 140 million for Connor Griffin, the teenage phenom for the Pirates.
There you go. Okay, so the average NBA team this year, Fitz, takes 42 threes a game for this season. That's the high. 10 years ago, Golden State had 32. So
honestly, that was right around the number I was thinking, 32 or 33.
So they basically just started the trend, was the point. But that'll do it for tonight's show. Thank you for joining us. That was Sean Fitzgerald, the host of Fitz.
And by the way, I've got one big thing to promote. If you're a baseball fan, I know not everyone in Brandon and Josh's audience usually is, at Fitz on Sports BSR on Friday mornings, usually around 8:30 a.m. Eastern, 5:30 Pacific. For anyone who might be out on the West Coast, I joined Dave Rivera on WOBL/WDLW to talk some Cleveland Guardians baseball. And I did that last year. I'm doing it again this year, 8:30 on Fridays, unless I say otherwise, which is a good thing to follow me on my socials, aka Twitter/X. Sorry, Elon. Go follow me, because if I have to, if we have to pivot at any point, you will be able to find out there instead of just having to rely on, a potential schedule quirk.
Well, Fitz, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Again, follow him on Twitter/X at Fitz on Sports BSR. Follow us, as always. You can see it on the screen for the entire episode on X, on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook. Josh will be back next week as we will dive into everything as the NBA will be wrapping up its regular season. The NFL draft is right around the corner. WrestleMania 42 is right around the corner. And with that, we'll see you guys next week right here on Championship Reigns.
See you later.